Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here. And before we begin, please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you're the first to know of any new content as it is posted. Getting started today, we can see here that there's an election fraud scheme that's been caught in Los Angeles. And if you remember, just last year, we were hearing from all the liberal talking heads that election fraud doesn't happen. 2016. That's just fear mongering. Election fraud doesn't happen. That's just Trump trying to make excuses for when he loses. And here we have from Hannah Fry and Marissa Gerber in Los Angeles, California, where Governor Moonbeam at the time in 16 and Moonbeam 2.0 Newsom were two of the biggest, saying that election fraud is just a dog whistle by people who are about to lose so they can challenge the election, while they were also making ballot harvesting legal. But in this one, you can see here that this is wider spread than just illegals voting, which we know happens. There's been at least one charged with it in the state of Texas, and we have voter ID. So how many of them you think vote in California where they don't? But you can see this was played out on Skid Row, and Skid Row, of course, a euphemism for any area where you have low income to homeless as the entirety of the population of a geographic area. And we have people who were paid to gather signatures, either for voter registration or ballot initiatives or petitions. And they were paying the homeless, either in cash or cigarettes, to sign petitions. And in many cases, not only were they doing that, they were paying them to forge their signature. Now, you see, in the United States, in order to get, or at least in the states I've looked at, in order to get something on the ballot that is not brought by the state legislature or by a local government, say a bond to build a new high school, that's brought by the school board or the local government. But to get something on the government that's not brought by them, you have to have a petition where you have a certain number of signatures. I can remember in my county, there was one on the ballot in 2016 that basically locked the county out from seizing your land via eminent domain by saying, well, the road has to run here or whatever. Famously, DFW has faced a scandal about that with the construction of the new Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, where people were told their home was only worth maybe 20% of their most recent tax valuation. And imagine being told for years, your home is worth $130,000, and here's the tax on that based on that amount. And then Jerry Jones wants a new stadium and doesn't want to pay for it, and your home is valued at $20,000. Here is $20,000 for your home. Yeah, I'm glad I got out of that city when I did. And luckily, there were some very good people with very good attorneys and a large amount of knowledge that fought it and were at least ultimately paid the proper valuation for their home. But they were still forced out. My county had an initiative to stop that. And if I remember correctly, it overwhelmingly passed. But I'm going to be very surprised if I'm wrong and say, and it didn't pass at all. But here, this is in Los Angeles, where they're trying to get initiatives on the ballot, or they're trying to get petitions to submit for some reason or another, and they're forging signatures. Now, forging a signature could be something along the lines of finding out that John Doe lives at 144 Main Street in La Habra, California. So you print out his name, and then you have someone sign that name who is not that person. They also go out and they find people who will not recognize a fictitious name or a dead person's name. Let's say they go out and they find someone and that person's willing to sign as Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson. And maybe they say, oh, it's not that Michael Jackson. Or even worse, they go out and find someone who they have signed as Hal Jordan or Anthony Stark. Yeah, there have been idiots who tried that. And then they turn in their petition, and, well, we have the 100,000 signatures, and some beleaguered office worker just goes through and counts them. And, yeah, there's 100,000 here. So we'll go on and put the petition through. Now, if you'll notice here, you do have the LA County Elections Chief, Dean Logan, says it's unlikely the forgeries eluded his staff, who manually compare petition signatures with those on registration forms. Mr. Logan, I hate to break this to you, but government workers are not the most fastidious people on the planet. They're far from it. If they can say that, okay, we have the printed name here and this signature basically matches, yeah, you're going to miss quite a few of those forgeries. And it honestly doesn't surprise me that you have someone who would say this, although he also goes on that he's worried that worried about any activity that causes voters to lose faith in the process. You mean activity like legalizing ballot harvesting, where people can just show up with boxes full of ballots and you can take them. And people wonder why California is the laughingstock for many people from many other states as far as it goes with elections. Now, I will say this, at least these people are charged. You have Washington, Bennett, and Wise facing up to 6 years and 4 months in prison, while Howard, Sweeney, Williams, Martis, and Hall and Huntley face up to 4 years and 8 months in prison. And they are saying that even though these people recruited the homeless, they're not charging the homeless who were duped, which in my mind is right. Also, how are you going to find them all? But this is worrying because more than just the blatant breaking of election law, this is an attitude that is becoming very prevalent. 2018 saw Brenda Snipes ordered to turn in the vote count by the state government. She didn't. She waited until after it was required and then recertified the original count because people were reporting that the votes had gone the opposite way from what she wanted. She was looking for votes to make sure the Democrat won, and after her recount, the Republican had more votes than they started with. So not only did she recount on her own authority, she went beyond the time frame ordered by the state government, and she didn't even turn in the recount. She just said, never mind, just go with the original, and so on and so forth. We know that in 2000, I believe it was 2016, it may have been 17, with the Roy Moore debacle, we have video of people saying, we came from all over the country to get our boy elected. That's an admission. That's a Freudian slip for those who didn't study psychology, sociology, and all that. That's a Freudian slip. That's where you accidentally tell the truth. And it boggles my mind that this is not making national headlines. Now, I am rather surprised at the LA Times running something like this. They've been known for many years to be as left-leaning as CNN or MSNBC. Perhaps Hannah and Marissa are a bit more level-headed, which gives me a little bit of faith returning for the LA Times. I used to read them virtually daily. But when we have people who have for over 2 years screamed about election fraud when it comes to, well, Trump must have, he must have done this, must have colluded, I guess he obstructed. It was nothing but accusing Donald Trump of election fraud. But when we have proof of election fraud, we have proof of people in Los Angeles doing this, silence. And that should be as worrying as people who feel emboldened to do this. I don't like the attitude of people will have to have their lives ruined before they do the right thing, but it seems they're going to have to. These people, these 9, are going to lose years of their life if convicted. Their lives are ruined. They'll never be able to volunteer again if they were advocates for politics. they're gone. They can't do anything. They're going to have a federal charge on their record. They're going to be fined. When they get out of prison, they're going to have to start completely over and build their lives from the ground up, which probably will involve moving, because they won't really be able to do anything in Los Angeles. Everybody will know what they did. And honestly, I hate that it comes to this, but it really kind of has to now. I hate that people are going to have, that Smollett is going to have his life ripped up. But every ounce of evidence that I've seen points to him lying through his teeth, paying people to fake an attack on him so that he can blame Donald Trump for racism that doesn't exist. He's already lost his job. Empire wasn't going to bring him back, and now Empire's going off the air. And he needs to go to prison for this crime, or to jail at the very least, because we need an overt example that the law is the law. If I went over to Dallas and faked an attack and said it was Hillary Clinton supporters that attacked me, they were wearing I'm with her shirts, and they threw bleach on me, and I was found to have fabricated the whole thing, I'd be in Huntsville, Texas, in a cell for years. But Jussie Smollett does it in Chicago, and so a DA that's very friendly with Democrats just says, no, there's nothing here. The media's quiet. We need stories like this to be on the national news. They claim to want to protect election integrity, but this, nothing. Blatant attack on integrity of elections, nothing. And we're going to have to shame the Maddow's and the Brzezinskis and the Coopers and the Trevor Noahs and the rest of them. We're going to have to shame them into actually covering stories like this. Maybe when they've taken enough of a hit in their reputation, they'll realize, oh, they don't want a news program that's nothing but opinion. You want to have an opinion show? Go for it. Hannity, Tucker, Judge Jeanine, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin on the radio, David Webb on the radio. Those are opinion programs. People don't tune in to get the latest stories. They tune in to hear what that person thinks on various topics. You want to have an opinion show? Go for it. You want to portray yourself as a journalist and run a news program? Then do the news. It's that simple. I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. Just remember, keep the comments civil. We don't learn from argument, only from debate. As always, please remember to like and share, as well as, again, to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you're among the first to know of all new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.